In the small, rural town of Summitville, located deep in Coffee County, Tennessee, a darkness once lurked that few could have ever anticipated. Known for its serene landscapes and close-knit community, Summitville became the epicenter of a horrifying crime that shocked not just the state, but the entire nation. At the heart of this atrocity was Gregory Scott Hale, a man whose unfathomable actions unveiled the darkest corners of the human psyche. What follows is the chilling story of Hale and the events that forever scarred this quiet community. Gregory Scott Hale entered the world on January 28, 1981. From the outset, Hale was different, though few could pinpoint exactly why. He grew up in a modest household, his upbringing largely unremarkable on the surface. But those who observed Hale in his formative years often noted his peculiar behavior. Reserved and introverted, he struggled to connect with others and often retreated into his own world. As he grew older, Hale's interests took a dark turn. He became fascinated with death and violence, often immersing himself in books, movies, and online content that delved into these macabre themes. His obsession deepened with time, particularly as he explored topics like Satanism, ritualistic practices, and even cannibalism. Friends and acquaintances who interacted with Hale found him unnerving, describing his conversations as filled with disturbing references to gore and his strange admiration for infamous killers. Yet, in a town like Summitville, where eccentricities were often brushed aside, Hale's behavior went largely unchallenged. By the time Hale reached adulthood, he had fully embraced his role as the town outcast. His social interactions were minimal, and when he did engage with others, it was often in ways that unsettled those around him. Without a steady career or purpose, Hale drifted between odd jobs, struggling to maintain any semblance of stability. One of the few jobs Hale managed to hold for any length of time was at a local slaughterhouse. It was here that Hale's gruesome fascinations found an outlet. While most of his co-workers viewed the slaughterhouse work as a grim necessity, Hale seemed to relish the tasks. He spoke openly about enjoying the process of dismembering animals, and even went as far as to steal remains for what he claimed were personal rituals. Over time, Hale's co-workers grew uneasy. Rumors circulated about his bizarre behavior, but ultimately, it was theft that led to his dismissal. For Hale, this was more than just losing a job, it was a severing of his connection to a place where his dark fantasies had been partially fulfilled. On the evening of June 8, 2014, Gregory Scott Hale crossed paths with 36-year-old Lisa Marie Hyder. Lisa, a single mother of 6 children, was known for her warmth despite a life marked by hardships. Financial instability and a battle with addiction had left her vulnerable, and she frequently hitchhiked as a means of transportation. That evening, Hale encountered Lisa at a local bar. Lisa, in need of a ride, accepted Hale's offer to take her where she needed to go. Hale, for his part, was polite and unassuming, hiding the malevolent intentions that churned beneath the surface. The two drove back to Hale's remote property, a weathered home surrounded by dense woods. It was here, in the isolation of Hale's world, that Lisa would face her horrific fate. Once they arrived at Hale's home, the atmosphere shifted. The polite demeanor Hale had shown earlier evaporated, replaced by a sinister and predatory presence. Lisa soon found herself at the mercy of a man who had no intention of letting her leave alive. According to Hale's later confession, he attacked Lisa with a calculated brutality, overpowering her and ending her life in an act of cold-blooded murder. But the horror did not end with her death. Hale's fixation on ritualistic violence and cannibalism drove him to dismember Lisa's body. He meticulously cut away pieces of her flesh, later admitting to consuming portions of it as part of what he claimed was a ritual. These acts were not impulsive, they were the realization of fantasies Hale had harbored for years, fantasies that blurred the line between reality and his grotesque obsessions. The remainder of Lisa's body was disposed of carelessly around Hale's property, with little regard for her humanity. The scene he left behind was one of pure carnage, a nightmarish tableau that would haunt investigators and the community alike. Hale's crime might have remained hidden longer were it not for his own recklessness. In the days following Lisa's murder, Hale sought assistance from his neighbors to dispose of her remains. His bizarre and unsettling request immediately raised alarm. One neighbor, horrified by what Hale had revealed, contacted the authorities. On June 10, 2014, Police arrived at Hale's property. What they uncovered was a scene straight out of a horror movie. Lisa Hyder's remains were scattered across the property, alongside evidence that confirmed Hale's cannibalistic acts. Blood stained the floors and walls, and tools used in the dismemberment were found in plain sight. Hale was arrested on the spot, showing little emotion as he was taken into custody. During his interrogation, Hale confessed to the crime in chilling detail. He spoke without remorse about his fascination with cannibalism, describing his actions as though they were routine. Investigators were left grappling with the depths of Hale's depravity, struggling to comprehend how someone could commit such acts without a trace of guilt. The trial of Gregory Scott Hale was brief but unforgettable. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and Hale's own confession sealed his fate. Prosecutors painted a picture of a man consumed by darkness, driven by his morbid fantasies to commit an act of unspeakable violence. The defense attempted to argue that Hale's mental state should be taken into account. They pointed to his history of isolation, his fixation on death, and the possibility of untreated mental illness. But the court found no room for leniency. The sheer brutality of the crime and Hale's complete lack of remorse left little doubt about the appropriate sentence. In August 2014, Gregory Scott Hale was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Lisa Hyder's family, it was a small measure of justice in the face of an unimaginable loss. The murder of Lisa Hyder sent shockwaves through Summitville, a town unaccustomed to such horror. For many residents, the knowledge that someone capable of such evil had lived among them was deeply unsettling. Neighbors who had interacted with Hale were left questioning themselves, wondering if they had missed signs or could have intervened in some way. Lisa's family was devastated by her loss. Her 6 children were left without a mother, forced to confront the trauma of her violent death. The pain of losing Lisa was compounded by the gruesome nature of the crime, details of which haunted her loved ones long after the trial ended. The case also sparked broader conversations about mental health and community responsibility. Hale's behavior in the years leading up to the crime had raised numerous red flags, yet no meaningful intervention had occurred. Many wondered if more could have been done to address his growing instability before it escalated into violence. What drove Gregory Scott Hale to commit such a heinous act? Experts who examined the case suggested that Hale exhibited traits consistent with psychopathy, including a lack of empathy and an inability to form meaningful connections with others. His obsession with death and violence, combined with years of isolation, created a dangerous cocktail that ultimately exploded in bloodshed. Hale's fascination with cannibalism and ritualistic killings was not a fleeting interest. It was a central part of his identity, one he nurtured over years through his work at the slaughterhouse and his dark personal rituals. For Hale, the act of killing Lisa Hyder was not just a crime, it was the fulfillment of a long-held fantasy. In the wake of her murder, Lisa Hyder's family has worked to honor her memory. Despite the hardships she faced in life, Lisa was remembered as a loving mother who cared deeply for her children. Her loss was a devastating blow, not only to her family but to the community that knew her. Her story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of hitchhiking and the importance of recognizing warning signs in troubled individuals. Lisa's family hopes that her tragic death can inspire others to take action before it's too late, preventing future tragedies from unfolding. The shadow of Gregory Scott Hale's crime continues to loom over Summitville. For residents, the knowledge that such horror occurred in their town is a constant reminder of the darkness that can exist even in the most seemingly idyllic places. While life has moved on, the scars remain, a testament to the lasting impact of Hale's actions. As Gregory Scott Hale spends the rest of his life behind bars, the legacy of his crime continues to cast a long shadow. It forces a reckoning not only for those who knew him but for society at large. How does someone harbor such darkness without intervention? Hale's case underscores the importance of vigilance in recognizing troubling behavior and the dire need for mental health resources, especially in rural and isolated communities. For law enforcement, Lisa Hyder's case remains one of the most chilling examples of how the facade of a quiet life can conceal unspeakable horrors. Her death became a tragic lesson in the vulnerabilities faced by individuals on society's margins, those who may cross paths with predators like Hale in moments of need. Summitville, shaken to its core, struggled to reconcile the horrific nature of Hale's crimes with the image of the quiet man many had passed on the street. Candlelight vigils were held in Lisa's memory, with local residents coming together to support her surviving children. Fundraisers were organized to ensure her children could access counseling and educational resources, a community effort to fill the void left by her untimely death. Many residents also took to advocating for stronger safety measures, from discouraging hitchhiking to encouraging neighbors to report unsettling behavior to authorities. The town's churches held discussions on morality, redemption, and the fight against the evils lurking in the world, grappling with the spiritual weight of what had transpired in their midst. As the years pass, the question of what truly drove Gregory Scott Hale remains both haunting and elusive. Was his descent into darkness the inevitable result of his isolation and morbid fascinations? Could intervention at an earlier stage have steered him onto a different path? Or was Hale's evil so innate, so deeply rooted, that no amount of effort could have stopped him? These questions linger in the minds of criminologists, psychologists, and ordinary citizens alike. What is clear is that Hale's case is a sobering reminder of the fragility of societal order. In every community, there are those who walk the fine line between darkness and light, their true nature often hidden until it is far too late. Lisa Marie Hyder's story is one of stolen potential, of a life that, despite its struggles, was filled with love and meaning. Her family remembers her as a resilient and compassionate woman who dreamed of better days for herself and her children. Though her life ended in tragedy, her memory endures, a poignant reminder of the importance of safeguarding the vulnerable and cherishing the time we have with our loved ones. As her children grow older, they carry her memory with them, an ever-present force shaping their lives. Despite the darkness that took her, they strive to honor her legacy with resilience and hope, determined not to let her life be defined solely by its tragic end. The heinous actions of Gregory Scott Hale serve as a grim reminder that evil can take root anywhere. For Summitville, Lisa Hyder's murder was a wake-up call to the fragility of safety and the importance of remaining vigilant. For the nation, it was a sobering story of how unchecked obsessions can spiral into horrifying violence. Hale's life sentence ensures he will never again pose a threat to society. But for those he left behind, both the loved ones of Lisa Hyder and the residents of Summitville, the scars remain, etched into their hearts and minds like a terrible dream that lingers long after waking. Though Hale sits alone in his prison cell, the echoes of his crime ripple outward, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can dwell within the human soul and the vigilance required to confront it.